past Piedra Morada. We're still heading up to where that fire is showing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, copy that. Once you get up there, let me know what we're looking like, if we've got any immediate impact to structures, and what you need. I've got 20 engine companies ordered up. Air resources are limited because of the fire in the Hollywood area.
We really like this house, so
Be
please
here
be
when
here
we
when
get
we
back.
get back. Okay. What a start to 2025. Loki's doing emergency surgery. We're evacuating with a fire.
It was supposed to be more chill, babe. It was supposed to be more chill.
Elko on 10, that was a good drop. Go ahead and take off down to Palisades. Sounds like we need you pretty bad down there. I'll be following you down there. Okay, this thing's got a really big head of steam. It's heading towards Charmel Drive. We have significant houses, significant brush in that area. Staging is going to be at Palisades Drive and Sunset.
So this is a pretty different video than what I'm used to making, but it feels really important because 6 months ago, my house burned down. Actually, my entire neighborhood burned down in the California fires.
Oh my God. Huh? Oh my God. I feel like it's better to go this way. Roger's house. Tom's house. No.
It has been one of the most profound learning experiences of my life, not just personally, but also in business. And so I kind of feel called to share what I've learned in the last 6 months because it feels very profound, I think. Let me set the stage for you because it was actually really crazy that day. So January 7th, 2025, my husband and I are at the local YMCA and we're working out. But what's weird about that is I didn't usually go with him to the gym to work out. So I actually normally would go on trail runs. I was living in the Palisades at the time, and it's right up against the Santa Monica Mountains, and I would run on this trail called Skull Rock, which, crazy enough, is exactly where the Palisades Fire started. So I don't know exactly what possessed me to do this, but instead of going on a trail run right where the fire started, I went to the gym instead with my husband, and we decided that we were going to do it so that we could talk about 2025 and set goals and intentions and like dream together while we were lifting. So we're at the gym talking about our dreams, goals, and aspirations for 2025, which did not include our life burning down. I'll tell you that. And the manager comes up to us and says, guys, there's actually a fire has started on the hill and we are evacuating everyone. So we need you to go home. And I was kind of like bummed and annoyed. Like I just didn't think that it was going to be that bad. So as we're leaving, we go and we stand on Sunset Boulevard. And I get goosebumps when I still think about it. But we're watching this fire pour down the hill, and it's going so fast. There were record-breaking winds that day. It was some of the gusts were like hurricane force gusts, and we just watched this fire pour down the hill. Now, one of the most profound experiences of my entire life will always be standing there as everybody is going the opposite direction away from the fire, starting to evacuate, and seeing all the first responders just fire truck after fire truck after fire truck, and all the firefighters heading towards danger. And I will forever have a special place in my heart for first responders. Like they are absolute heroes. And watching the people who were dropping fire retardant in these planes and maneuvering them was also one of the most incredible things I've ever witnessed in my life. I didn't know planes that big could maneuver like that. It was truly mind-blowing. So we're watching the fire come down the hill, and it's starting to engulf houses, and the smoke would change when a house would go up. It would get really dark and black. And we're standing there kind of in disbelief, And suddenly it starts to feel real, and we realize we need to go pack a bag and, get our boys. So we go home. They were both sleeping. They were down for a nap. Our nanny was at the house. And we were, wow, it's just so crazy. And we decided to start packing up. And I actually started packing up things from the refrigerator. And my husband was like, why are you packing up stuff from the refrigerator right now? I was like, because they're going to cut the power, because I cut power to prevent, sparks from flying and electricity from creating more fires. And I was like, I don't want to come back to a stinky refrigerator. And that just shows you how I literally had no idea that our home had any chance of burning down. I did not think that it was possible because of where we lived. My sister actually checked in with me, and I texted her around 3 p.m. saying there's no way our home's going to burn down. An entire neighborhood would have to burn down. We're too far inland. But around 7 p.m. that night, we started getting text messages from neighbors of the high school on fire and other buildings on fire that were 2 blocks from our house. So we started realizing, holy shit, we're going to lose our home. We're going to lose everything in it. We should have grabbed more things. We should have grabbed the sentimental stuff. We should have grabbed my grandfather's watch that he gave me. Ben wished he had grabbed his grandfather's watches. So we're sitting in our in-laws' house with our 2 little boys who have no idea what's going on, thank goodness. And we are just realizing that everything is burning down. And that is one of the most surreal experiences I've ever had in my life. It didn't feel real. I didn't know what to do next. I was so confused and at a loss for truly, like, what do you do? What do you do? So over the next few days, as reality started to sink in, we started thinking about going to North Carolina because we had a house there that we were Airbnb-ing out. It was near where I went to college. It was a place that we were planning on spending lots and lots of time in because it's my favorite place in the world. First, we looked for Airbnbs in LA, but people were snatching them up for 5, 10x what they were worth. And it was just so crazy. So luckily we had a place to go. So grateful for that. So we decided to go to our house in North Carolina. But before we left, we both had this overwhelming urge to see our home burn down. It felt like we couldn't leave the area until we knew for sure that it was gone. And we had heard that it was getting difficult to get into the neighborhood because the National Guard was being brought in. And so the very next day, my husband and I went into Santa Monica and rented e-bikes and rode into the neighborhood behind barricades to our house to see it with our own eyes. And to see an entire neighborhood completely wiped out like that was one of the most apocalyptic, surreal experiences of my life. And we actually collected a lot of videos and photos for our neighbors because they were all, frantically trying to do the same thing. Again, it was such an overwhelming experience that seemed to be pretty universal. The need to see that your house is actually gone. It was like needed for closure. So we got what we needed, the closure and to know. Ben actually found his grandfather's watches. Obviously, they were destroyed, but it still felt really meaningful. So then we were able to move to North Carolina with all that we had, 2 suitcases full of stuff. It was wild. And now that we've been here and we've gotten settled, because it did take some time to get settled, I was super anxious when we first got here. And I needed to get into a rhythm, a routine. I needed to get grounded. So one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that material things are replaceable. Time and freedom are not. Our house, our clothes, all of our possessions were gone, but we still had our family. We had each other, we had our boys, we had our health, and we had our skills, the things that we've learned over the years in order to be more resilient in this world, both professionally and personally. Now, even before my house burned down, I would have told you that material things are just material things. I was never somebody who had a ton of stuff to begin with. But I did like having nice things. I like having nice furniture. I like having nice artwork. I like having some nice clothes. And again, I would have told you before the fire that, yeah, material stuff is just stuff. But there is something profoundly different from imagining that and actually having all of it taken away and experiencing it. I would say that pretty quickly, after we mourned the loss of a few important things, we got to the other side of that. We were just so grateful for our lives, our babies' lives, and the ability to go somewhere because everyone was scrambling. More than ever before, my identity is free from being tied to things like material possessions, clothes that I wear, and just any kind of stuff. In fact, I've had a real hard time actually buying new clothes. I basically wear the same few outfits every day now because it just doesn't feel important anymore. And the big lesson here really is that real security, feeling secure in yourself, comes from the skills that you have, the mental health practices that you put in place, the mindset work that you do, the personal development, the self-trust that you build. That is really where real security comes from, because you can have everything taken away in an instant. I know that now more than ever before. In case we haven't met before, my name is Sarah Turner. I'm an 8-figure business owner, and I teach people how to start businesses largely so that they can experience time autonomy, financial freedom, and just freedom across the board. And that's what I've been doing the last almost 7 years, is helping people start businesses. Because I started a business myself 12 years ago that gave me an incredible amount of freedom to be location independent, to have great savings. And that whole process required a lot of mindset work and personal development. And I've just come to believe and know, really, that entrepreneurship is accessible to so many people, but because of some of our preconceived notions around what entrepreneurship is or who it's for, who it's not for, and the idea that it's risky even, prevents a lot of really amazing, kind-hearted people and empathetic souls from going that path. And so a big part of my mission in business, in fact, this is literally what my book is about, Bet on Yourself, has been to really bring entrepreneurship to those empathetic, kind souls who may or may not see themselves as an entrepreneur. Because it's more accessible than it's ever been before. It doesn't mean you need to grind forever. Anyway, that's just a little bit about me in case you don't already know who I am. So what this has really highlighted for me in my business is that it is so important to build a business that prioritizes freedom of all kinds, financial, time, you name it, over stuff. And really, I would encourage you not to wait for a disaster to start building this or to realize it's so important and it matters. I'm so grateful for past Sarah, for all the hard work that she's put in around building a life of freedom, because it's continuing to help us in ways that I could have never imagined. The next lesson that has been highlighted for me, and I already suspected this, but it's just even more so now, is that location independence is everything. My husband and I were able to pack up and move to North Carolina because we both have set up our careers such that we can work from anywhere. And in today's world, with as much uncertainty as there is and all these environmental catastrophes that continue to happen, it is more important than ever before. We had so many friends who were stuck in LA because that's where their careers were. And so now they're being forced to pay for these Airbnbs that are like 10x what they should be. Also, it gave us the freedom to leave the disaster area, get out of the smoke, to heal, to find some peace, to focus on our boys. Because that's what we knew we needed to do. We needed to get grounded for our 2 little ones. So this is something I've always believed, but I now believe it again more than ever, that building a digital business you can take with you is so essential in today's world to creating as much freedom, independence, and security as you can. This is why I'm always encouraging people to build location-independent businesses. The other lesson is that a flexible career really can save you when things blow up. So because we both have control over how we spend our time, we were able to dial back work so we could focus on recovery. And we had no bosses to ask for permission to do this. We took exactly what we needed when we needed it. Online businesses like mine allow you to rest and build and pivot when you need to, when the seasons of life inevitably change. This is also why it's so important to build a business where you're not stuck in hustle mode and you're not on the verge of burnout. Because when you build a business like that, then you feel like you cannot have off days. And there are going to be things that happen in your life that require you to have off days. The next lesson I learned is that a reliable team is invaluable. When my life burned down, my team stepped in and took over, and they did an incredible job. I could not have done it without them. They kept things moving, they kept things going seamlessly. I didn't even know where to begin when I started to come back to work, and they helped me figure that out. I will forever be grateful for my team and how they showed up for me during those days. This lesson reinforces something that I've, again, really known to be true, but now I had to rely on it in a way that I've never before. And that's to have systems in place and to train people to work within your business in a really high caliber way before you need it. When you're making your first team hires, it's really easy to think, I can do this better, I can do this faster. But a team allows you to free up time so you can focus on the thing that you are best at within your business. And because I've trusted them and invested in their training, they've also gotten way better at every task that they do than I ever was. So don't be your own business bottleneck. It's so important to hire a team, even if it's just a VA for a few hours a week when you start. Truly having people to rely on is so essential to business success. The next lesson I learned is that healthy savings is a true safety net. I actually used to feel really guilty about having good savings because it felt like I was hoarding or it was greedy. But as I worked through my money mindset blocks, I realized that it was essential to care for and protect my family, myself, and the people that work for me. This experience has solidified some money mindset things that me 10 years ago could have never imagined. Collectively, we vilify people who make great money. And what that does is when anyone wants to make great money, especially my empathetic, kind-hearted, often female entrepreneurs, it makes you hesitate because you don't want to be somebody that other people don't like. You don't want to be kicked out of the tribe. That is just human nature, to want to fit in, to want to belong. But that's how businesses operate and operate well. Having healthy profit margins allows you to save for when times are rough. This has happened not only for me personally through this experience, but also when my business has experienced rough patches. Managing your money well and living within your means is one of the best things that you can do for yourself personally as an entrepreneur and as a business owner. Working on my money mindset has been one of the biggest areas of growth in my life. The next lesson that was really highlighted for me is that community and relationships matter more than anything else. The outpouring of support, I'm gonna cry. The outpouring of support that we received after this happened was overwhelming and profound. Clients stepped up, students stepped up, friends, family. It was beautiful. I felt so cared for and so loved. One of the biggest things that happens when you lose everything is you need a lot of little things that you forget. Like you don't have a toothbrush, you don't have your face lotion or your towels, just everyday little things. It's actually a lot. When it's all gone, suddenly you're like, oh, we need all these things for our boys' clothes. They had no clothes. It was so wild. So one of the most helpful things that people did was they put together an Amazon wish list that as I realized, oh, we don't have toothpaste, we don't have this, we don't have that, and we're flying, and we got 2 babies and 2 dogs that we're trying to get across the country, I would just add it to this list. And then it just showed up at our house. And I had all these wonderful notes from people all throughout my life, from my youth group friends that I haven't talked to in decades, from teachers, from students in my community. And so the other thing that was really beautiful about that is all these things I now associate with all these beautiful people in my life. The soft blanket for my boys that came from my best friend in high school. The headbands that came from my pelvic floor therapist from when I was pregnant. It just was so meaningful. And community and relationships have always been extremely important to me, but this was just such a reminder, especially because so many business relationships reached out to help, like clients and students. It just showed me in a whole new way that building a meaningful, heart-centered business is about relationships. It's not about transactions. And I'm so grateful that I built a network before I needed it. I am typically somebody that people rely on. This is one of the only times in my life where I've needed to rely on others. And it was amazing, and I felt so seen and so held. Okay, so finally, the last lesson that has been emphasized for me, because a lot of these things I'd actually been thinking about before, but it's gotten just so much more profound and it's become like a knowing in my bones. And that's your business should serve your life, not the other way around. This is why I'm such a proponent for entrepreneurship. Because when you work a 9 to 5, you give the leftover hours of your day to yourself, to your children, to your spouse. And honestly, it's gut-wrenching. We only have so much time on this earth. It is so important that we are building something that we can mold around our life and the seasons and the catastrophes that come our way. A life-altering event like this puts your business goals in perspective. Again, you don't need to be creating something that requires all of you to be hustling 24/7. Your work should create life, not consume it. So what does that mean in business? Make sure you're designing your offers, your schedules, your team, and your systems to support your life so that you can take a step back if you need to. And please learn from me. Don't wait for a crisis in order to put these things in place. Take a moment, truly, and think about what would you do if your home burned down right now? What would you do? Do you have savings? Do you have a network? Do you have a community? Do you have a team in place? Can you take a step back from work? Can you move to a different location if your entire neighborhood burns down? I never imagined I'd be telling this story, but losing my home has forced me to really get crystal clear and focused on what matters most in business and in life. Freedom, people, skills, and mindset. Those are the most important things in our lives, not stuff. So if you're building a business right now, please build it so that it can carry you through anything, because life happens. Crazy things happen. And you don't have to wait for a disaster to start making changes in your life and in your business. You can start right now. Share with me in the comments below, what's your definition of freedom? What is the one area right now, after hearing all of this, that you want to make a change? Make a commitment. And if you're going through a rough patch, give yourself grace. Because grace is the thing that's going to help you come out on the other side a lot faster. Anyway, thanks for hearing my story. I guess hit that thumbs up button if you liked it. I don't know. Seems weird. And don't forget to subscribe. I mean, I share videos every single week, mostly on business building and course creation. I'm usually sharing these days about Corsia Collective, which is my digital mastermind and community and program and course and AI tool, basically the best resource on the market for course creators. So that's usually what you get from me, but today just felt really meaningful and important. So thanks for hanging out.